Let me see if the website is gone live. So let me check YouTube in my mobile if we are able to see it live. So give me a moment. I'm just checking in YouTube if our live stream is live, and I'm checking the audio if it is all good. Also the video as well. How is it looking? Give me a few moments. Okay, I can hear it well as well. So I see the audio and video is good. So let's get started. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, do subscribe. So hi, welcome to Tech Primers. So in this particular session, we are going to see what is Kotlin. So just for the introductory sake, right? So if you're new to Java, so Kotlin is just another language which is running over the JVM. So as you know, Java is a language which we use applications in something called JVM, Java Virtual Machine. So that is the runtime environment. So if you are from C language or mainframes or any language, right? So you will have a runtime where your application will be running, right? So Java has something called JVM. So same way, Kotlin is a new language which is created by JetBrains. So JetBrains is a company which creates IDEs and stuff. So IDEs, build tools and stuff like that. So they have come up with a new language called Kotlin, which runs on the JVM. So which basically means you can write and interact with the Java code. So you can do similar stuff like how you do in Java, but it has some additional benefits over Java. So that is what we are going to see now. So why Kotlin is gaining so much popularity, right? So last week in the Google I/O, so there is an event called Google I/O, which is a developer conference which Google holds every year. So as a part of that, Google launched that Kotlin will be the official language to support on Android. So if you see here, this is the Kotlin website. So kotlinlang.org, or you can go to kotlin.jetbrains.com. So and this is their web page. So if you see here, they have announced that now official on Android. So if you go to the blog, so they have clearly mentioned that Google has announced that Kotlin is an official language supported by Google on Android. So you can create Kotlin native applications on Android without having to use Java. So Kotlin was previously supported as well. So you can write similar to how you write in Java in Android. But now Kotlin is an official language which Android supports as well. So here Android is written in Java as well. So for just FYI, for your purpose, if you didn't know that, okay, uh, Java is used in Android. Okay, so Kotlin is think of Kotlin as another language which is running the same runtime environment as Java. But what is it going to help? Uh, so if you see here, what they have mentioned mainly is the statically typed programming language for modern multi-platform applications. So Java is statically typed as well. However, if you see the new dynamic programming languages, right? For example, JavaScript or Groovy, let's say. So you don't have to define a type. So for example, if you create a string variable where you want to source, where you want to store some string, so you don't have to do any, you don't have to do any type check, or you don't have to tell the compiler that this is a string. So those will be taken care dynamically by the compiler at runtime. However, in Kotlin, you don't. It is not that way. You have to define the type statically. Basically, during compile time, you will know that, okay, what type of object that is. So it is a statically typed programming language like Java. Okay, so Scala, or if you take Groovy and JavaScript, they are not statically typed. So you don't have to define a specific type, saying, okay, this is a string or this is an integer. I'm going to use only integer values or something like that. However, Kotlin is a statically typed programming language, so you have to define that. So we are going to see that in the code, but in general, that is the difference. Okay. So, but why Kotlin, right? So if you see here, Kotlin is used in creating, if you see here, build applications for the JVM, you can build applications for Android, and you can build applications for the browser. I'm looking forward to see how that comes up well. So, so they have confirmed that with Kotlin, you can write JavaScript code for the browser. So basically you can design websites with Kotlin as well. And finally, the native applications. Basically, these are the hardware support, like Objective C or something. So how you can interact with the hardware from the Kotlin. So it is coming up. Looks like that is what we see here. So why do we need Kotlin, right? So the first major feature is that it's concise. So basically, you don't have to write lots of code. You don't. So if you see here, that's what they mean. Drastically reduce the amount of boilerplate code. So in Java, if you are familiar with Java, so you will have to write lots of unnecessary ceremonies, right? So you have to write lots of things which Java will understand. So you know that it's not required. So those are not required in Kotlin. So basically, the boilerplate codes are not there in Kotlin. So you don't have to write lots of code to make the core functionality to work. Okay, so that is the major feature. Next one is safe. So it is type safe. So basically, you are safe with the null pointers and null handlings and the error handlings in Kotlin. So if you're coding in Java, you would have faced these null pointer exceptions, right? So they kill you at runtime, right? So if there is a production issue, you see a null pointer exception and you go mad. Where is it failing? Because you don't know where your variable is null, and you're doing so many operations without even doing null checks, and you go mad with checking that value again and again, checking your code again and again. So that is not required in Kotlin. So Kotlin is type safe. During compile time, it is going to throw you exception saying, okay, this is not a null safe, you have to handle it. So we are going to see that as well in this example. So while we code, next one is interoperability. So like JVM, you can run on any machine or any Linux machine or Linux platform or Windows platform or Mac platform or any platform or the browser or the mobile device. So that is because JVM already provides that. So since you are writing in Kotlin and it's converting it into byte codes which can be run on the JVM, you don't have to worry about the interoperability. Okay. Finally, the tool friendly part. If you see here, if you have seen my videos, all my IDE, I would have used IntelliJ IDEA, so which is designed by JetBrains, the company which designed the Kotlin. So basically the tooling support is very good. We are going to see that as well. So we are going to use IntelliJ to see how we can create Kotlin application. So and the tooling is very good because the IDE is so tightly coupled inside the JetBrains, and also you can use other IDs as well. So how does it look like, right? How does the code look like in Kotlin? So this is how a typical hello world looks like in Kotlin. So you don't worry about what each these are. I'll just explain when we start coding. Just try to understand what Kotlin is and how is it different from Java, or how is it different from your language, from where you're coming from. Okay. There is a use case to try Kotlin online as well. If you see here, there's a try online link. So you can even write code in the browser. So if you see here, you can write the Kotlin code and try out here, and you can run it, and then you get the result out here. So this is just a typical hello world program. So I just ran it and the output comes up here. So you can write typical Kotlin code here if you want to try out Kotlin without even having to use any browser or something. Okay. So in our case, we are going to try IntelliJ. So yeah, as you see here, these are the IDE browser supports for Kotlin. So IntelliJ IDEA is a major IDE. So we are going to use IntelliJ IDEA today. The next one would be the Android Studio. So Android Studio also is designed by JetBrains, which designed IntelliJ. So it is going to have lots of support inside Android Studio as well. So if you're familiar with Android programming, so you would have used Android Studio to create your application. So Kotlin gives flexibility to use the same Android Studio, which is bundled with the Studio 3.0. So you can just install it as a plugin and you can start writing Kotlin code there as well without even having to do lots of setup. Okay, next one would be Eclipse. So Eclipse is, I don't know, I'm not using Eclipse for the past 5 years or more. So I don't know how Eclipse has evolved right now, but I feel IntelliJ is better in every aspect. But let's not argue that here. So if you are using Eclipse, you can install the plugin for Kotlin as well. Okay. Same way, command line interpreter is also there. So like how you can compile Java code with the Java C command. So there is a Kotlin C command as well, which you can use to compile the Kotlin code. So that is it. Who's using Kotlin currently? If you see here, Pinterest, the app where you can see the fashionable items. So that is using Pinterest. Gradle, if you know, the build tool. which right now is using Groovy as its DSL, is introducing Kotlin as a language for writing the build scripts. So next one would be Evernote. So Evernote is using Kotlin, and they recently integrated into their Android application. Same way Uber. So many of you would have used Uber, right? So Uber is using Kotlin for building internal tools in their company. So next is Corda. So Corda is an open source distribution ledger. So that is a platform which is used by lots of banks. So they are building that platform entirely on Kotlin. Okay. There is something called Coursera. So Coursera is an Android application where you can go and see some tutorials and stuff. You can read tutorials and listen to the tutorials created by different people. So that is also written in Kotlin. The other major thing is the Pivotal, the company which develops Spring Boot, Spring, and all those frameworks. So they are using Kotlin as one of their language along with Java. Okay, finally, Atlassian. Atlassian's new mobile app called Trello is designed in Kotlin. So Atlassian is the company which has designed your Jira, Crucible, all your Bitbucket, and all those code management or the version controlling system and stuff. So they also use Kotlin in production. Okay, so that is it about Kotlin. So I'm just excited to use Kotlin in my day-to-day activities. So I won't have any opportunity to work with Kotlin at my workplace, but still I want to try Kotlin and see how it is better than Java, because everyone is like going crazy with Kotlin. And also Android is now said that, okay, Kotlin is an official language. So I wanted to see how Kotlin fares well with Java. There is one more additional thing. So if you see, this is the website you would have seen in all my videos. So I usually go to this particular place. This is nothing but the Spring Initializer, where I can create a bundle, the project bundle, basically, which creates a Spring Boot project. Uh, Actually, fascinatingly, Spring Boot provides an option to select Kotlin as a language. So if you see here, there is an option to select Java, Groovy, and Kotlin. So you can select any of these language and you can generate your project. So right now I'm not going to do that. It is too much of an overkill right now to use Kotlin with Spring Boot. I don't want to do that. Let's take baby steps. So let's go step by step. So I'm going to create Kotlin from the IntelliJ, because IntelliJ by default supports Kotlin. But I'm just saying that Spring Boot already has integrated Kotlin long back in 2016 to create an application using Kotlin directly. So you can just use this generate option, and then you can see that like a Java application, Kotlin application is created, which is bundled with Spring Boot. Okay, so that's it for the theory part. So now let's get our hands dirty with the coding part, right? So let's see. So I have opened IntelliJ here. So I'm going to create a new project. So I'm just clicking the new create project option. So if you had worked in IntelliJ already, you would have noticed that it asks for different application or the project types, right? So for example, here it is asking me whether I want a Java project or Flex project or Java FX or a Gauge or a Maven or a Gradle project or a Groovy project or a Griffin or finally Kotlin. Okay, so this is where JetBrains is smart enough. They have everything integrated inside the IDE itself because they developed it, and the language is also their own. So once I click the Kotlin project, I have two different options. One is to create an application which runs on the JavaScript platform or the JVM platform. So we are not going to see the JavaScript part. So we are going to see the JVM part, how we can run our application inside a JVM. So I'm going to select this option. I'm going to say next. So let's give a name to this application. So I'm going to say Kotlin, learn Kotlin. So we are learning Kotlin, right? So I'm going to say learn Kotlin, and the library which Kotlin uses is by default Kotlin runtime, Java runtime. So it has already got selected, and the Java version which I'm using is 1.8. So by default I'm using 1.8. So the SDK which we selected is 1.8. Okay, I'm just going to say finish. So this is going to create a new project using Kotlin, and it is going to just open it up. Okay, so the IntelliJ IDE is open. Let me maximize it. Okay, so if you see here, it's a dummy project. Nothing is there literally. So if you see here, there is an empty source folder. So there is nothing much. So if you see the external libraries, If you see the external libraries here, there are two runtime environments. One is the Java 1.8. The next one is the Kotlin runtime. There are just two jars. I'm just amazed to see that there are only two jars for Kotlin. Okay. Yeah, it's just a new language, right? So you can't expect lots of things initially. But yeah, so let's go ahead and create a package so that we can do something inside the package. So I'm going to create a package called techprimers.com.techprimers. I can just say techprimers for simplicity. Okay, I created a package called techprimers. So I'm going to create a Kotlin file. So I'm going to name this as main for simplicity. So this is going to be a main file. So this is something similar to the main class in Java. So this is going to be the main file which I'm going to run. Okay. And if you see that the file has an extension .kt. So if you are working in Java, the file extension is .java. So any file name .java. In Kotlin, the file name extension ends with .kt. Okay, so if you are working in Groovy, it is .groovy. If you are in Scala, it is .scala. If you are in C language, it is .c. So similar way, Kotlin's extension is .kt. Okay. So how do we define a function? So in Kotlin, you can define a function saying with fun. Okay, let's start with fun, right? So I don't know why they named it fun, but it looks funny. But yeah. Okay, so I'm going to define the function as main. So that is our main function. So I'll write a similar Java class here so that I can show you how Kotlin is different from Java. Okay, I'll just create a main Java. So if you are using Java, so we use this, right? Public static void main, and then we have an argument here. So this gets translated into this. So I'm going to say that I need an argument of type array. Okay, which is a string. Okay, if you see here, this is the string from Kotlin. So, and this is equivalent to this. So if I need to show you, let me show you in here. So if I show you, this is the right side part is Java, the left side part is Kotlin. So in Java, we wrote public static void main string args something, but in Kotlin, we are just saying main, and this is a function, and this is an argument which my function is expecting. Basically, if somebody is calling this main, they need to provide some argument. Okay, that is what this says. And if you see here, this K icon, so this is nothing but a Kotlin icon. So you can directly click on it and run or debug or run with coverage this particular class. So IntelliJ is smart enough to identify that, okay, this is a Kotlin project and you can run it directly here. So same way, if you see in Java, you can run it here directly using this option. So you can run main or run or debug or run with coverage. So here for Kotlin as well, it is showing up automatically. So now what we are going to do is we are going to just print a message called hello world, both in uh, Java and Kotlin. So I'm just saying the world, or we can say hello YouTube. Okay, since we are on YouTube, let's try to change the formality, right? So in case of Java, you would have said system.out.println and then said hello YouTube from Java. Here I'm going to say from Kotlin. Okay. So let me run this particular guy. The only thing which is different from Java and Kotlin is the compilation takes a while because everything is done at compile time. If you had used Groovy, Groovy does everything at runtime. So basically, if you screw up something in your code, you won't even know until it is there in production, which is dangerous, right? So that is now not there in Kotlin because Kotlin is a statically typed language. Basically, it is going to check everything at compile time. So during the compilation phase, it is going to take lots of time. That is the only difficulty I faced while running my first Kotlin project. So if you see here, this particular program has run, and I can see that it has printed hello YouTube from Kotlin. If you see here, you can see this here. Okay, hello YouTube from Kotlin. If I basically run it from the Java, so Java is going to do the same thing. Just that if you see the number of lines of code which I have written in Kotlin versus Java, so it's completely less, right? The number of lines in Java is 9. If you see in Kotlin, it's 5. And also the number of text which you can see, how much ever I have typed in Kotlin versus Java is relatively less in Kotlin. If you compare this with Groovy, right? You don't even have to do any of this. You just say println and hello YouTube, it just prints. But the only disadvantage with Groovy is it is not a statically type checked language. So it checks everything at runtime only. So it's a dynamic language. So you won't even know what is happening. So it's like it fails only in production most of the time. So that's what happens in JavaScript, right? So you write your code, you pray that it works in the browser, and then you go and check it works. If it fails, it fails. So, but yeah, that's the advantage which Kotlin is giving you. It's a statically typed checked language. So everything will be identified at compile time itself. Okay. So if you see here, yeah, the Java output has come as well. So hello YouTube from Java. Okay. Now there is an advantage in Kotlin. So you can call Java classes from the Kotlin classes as well. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a plain, we call it Pojo, right? Plain old Java object. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to create something called users. So I'm going to create first in Kotlin. So once I click on the new Kotlin file, I can select a class. So same way how we have class, interface, object, enum, everything is there in Kotlin as well. So for simplicity, for the initial video, we are going to create a class. So I'm going to call it users. So if you have seen my all my videos, I would have used this users 100 times. Yeah, it got used to it. So what we're going to do here is I have created a users plain old Java object basically, but in Kotlin. Okay, same way, let me create that in Java. Okay, I'm going to call it users Java. Okay. So in Java, if I had to create a Pojo, let's say I have a name and salary. Okay, let's for simplicity purpose, think that I have only name and salary. I'm going to create some getters and setters. Okay, so I've just created. So this is a plain Pojo basically in Java, right? You have a name and salary. You can put the name inside it. You can put the salary inside this object, and you can get it using these functions. So basically, you use this object to put and get stuff out of it. In Kotlin, we have to use something called var or val. Okay, so var is used for all the types of for everything, for all the types of variables. Okay, and val is used for all the types of constants. Basically you define variables with private, final and stuff, right? So that is in Java. So that is equivalent to val in Kotlin. So in this particular file, what we are going to do is we are going to create the same name. So you have to do this. So in Kotlin, you have to define var name as a string. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a name variable and defining a type. So this is called statically typed. So I'm tying up a name with string. So Java also does that, but if you see Groovy doesn't do that. So you don't have to do something like this. You can just say def object. You can just say def and name, and that is how Groovy works. But in Kotlin, you have to do the same way like how we do in Java, but it's slightly different. And if you see here, there is a compilation error. It says the property must be initialized or be abstract. So in Kotlin, you have to initialize every object which you create, or you have to mark it as abstract. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to say, for simplicity, I'm going to say this as Peter. So the user's name is Peter. So if you see here, the compilation error has gone now. Okay. Right now, it's just compiling saying the name is not used at all. So, but yeah, and also if you see here, I don't have to put a semicolon in Kotlin. So in Java, we have to end every statement with semicolon, but in Kotlin, we don't have to do that. Okay. So next up is the salary. So I'm going to say salary, and I'm going to say int. So int is equivalent to integer. So if you see here, int is coming from Kotlin. So and same way I have to initialize something here. So let's say I'm going to initialize 10,000 here. Okay. So this is the Kotlin representation of a particular Pojo, and this is the Java representation of a particular Pojo. If you see here, the number of lines I have written is just 8, out of which half are just comments. If I remove these comments, right, it's just 6 lines of code. And if you see in Java, I've written 23 lines of code already. I just didn't even start processing anything. I just created some dummy objects. Okay, so that is the difference between Kotlin and Java. It's removing all your boilerplate code which is not required. Let's Now let's go to the main part, right? How do we create these objects? Okay, so in Java, in traditional Java, what we used to do is you define that object users and call it users. You just say new users and you say this. So we are very much used to this new, right? New operator. So this new operator creates objects every time you create a new, right? However, in Kotlin, you don't have to do that. So you just say var users, you know that it's going to be new. So you just say users this way. So actually this is users Java basically. So this is the, if you see here, I used users, still Java was allowing me to use it. Basically users is a Kotlin file, but still I was able to use a Kotlin object inside Java. But for our example, let's not mingle that yet. So I'm just going to say users Java. That is our users Java, right? So, and let's say now I need to assign some variable values. So here I'm going to assign the value Peter. Okay. Same way I'm going to say salary for Peter is 2000. Okay. This is how you write in Java, right? You create an object, you do a new operator, you set the name and you set the salary. However, in Kotlin, you can do this. Since we didn't have any getters or setters, you can directly access the object here. So previously we had assigned Peter, we can assign Sam here. Same way I'm going to say users.salary. I'm going to assign some 3000. Did I assign 3000 there? I assigned 1000. Okay, I'm assigning 6000. If you see, IntelliJ by default was suggesting all these options. So the browser support is very good actually. That is another thing which I see with IntelliJ supporting Kotlin. So same way with Java, as you know, Java is good in IntelliJ than any other IDE right now. Same way Kotlin is good as well. So I don't have to switch my IDE just for this purpose. If you see JavaScript, right, I used to use Visual Studio Code as well sometimes because I'm not comfortable in IntelliJ sometimes at home because I don't have a Ultimate Edition, but yeah, that happens, right? But that is not required for Kotlin. So Kotlin supports IntelliJ as well. So I don't have to mingle between two different IDEs for my code development. So if you see the difference between these two, you have to write lots of code here. So same way set, you're writing a set, you're writing a set salary, and if you see in the Pojo, you have to implement that set, and if you have to get that object, you have to use that get again, and you have to test all these things, which is a pain, right? So if you don't test it, your code coverage will be down and your manager will be coming at your back and saying, why are you not testing it? So that's what happens most of the time, right? So that is not going to happen in Kotlin because you wrote less code. If you are writing less code, you don't have to test it, isn't it? So that's what is the major difference I see. If you write less code, you're safe actually. That is what I feel. I don't know how you feel, but yeah. Now let's print these objects, right? So how do we print in Java, right? So you just say println and you just say users equal to, and then we use this plus operator, isn't it? And then I say users dot get name, right? Okay, so we use this, right? So the typical usage inside Kotlin is I can do this dollar, and then you can say users dot name. If you see here, IntelliJ was still suggesting me what should I do. So that is the level of support from IntelliJ. So if I run this particular class now, it should print me users, then it should print the name Sam. If you see here, there is no concatenation required here. If you see in Java, this particular line is ugly, isn't it? You have users and then you have some concatenation. So most of the time when there is a production issue and you don't know which class is that log file from, you go and search for that particular log file and you ending up with no results, right? So that is because most of the time we use these concatenation operations and your browser will not even be able to identify where your text is. In case of Kotlin, if you see here, this is very simple for me. I can just read it. Users, and this is just printing from the users.name. It's just another way of representing the values inside a string itself. So if you see here, it has printed users Sam. Java will also print the same thing, but if you see here, the number of lines of code or the number of words I have written in this particular line, it has drastically reduced and I don't have to do this concatenation again. Okay, so this is another way of doing stuff in Kotlin. Now what do we do? The next feature which people said is good in Kotlin is null checks, right? So let's do some null assignment, right? So I'm going to create a variable called null check. Okay, and let's call it a string. Okay, I'm making it as a string. It's called null check. Here in Java, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create I should have said string null check. If you see, this particular object is null, isn't it? So your compiler says you need to assign something, and you assign it to null. And if you do something on this object, let's say we do a toString or length. Let's do a length. If you see this is going to result in null pointer exception in Java, right? So if you do that here, let's do something here in Kotlin. So I am assigning this particular null check variable as null, and the compiler is complaining. So if you see here, there is an exception here. Yeah, there is an exception called null pointer exception here in the Java when we run the Java, right? So in case of Kotlin, if you see here, I assigned a variable to null, and the compiler is complaining that you cannot use this null. Add null assignment to it. Okay, so what it basically means is it is tell the compiler that this can be null and this is null. So you have to do a question mark over here. If you see here, this particular variable is being assigned a question mark because we are telling the compiler that this can be null, and you have to do your calculations based on this variable to handle null. Okay, now let's do the same thing, right? Println, we need to print this null check. I'm going to do a length. If you see here, the compiler is saying that, okay, you cannot do this because your string can be null. Okay, so in that case, what do we need to do is you have to do a question mark over this particular variable. So this makes this particular line null safe. So if I run this particular class, it is not going to throw me null pointer exception like how Java did, right? So we got a null pointer exception, but that is not going to happen in Kotlin. So if you see here, even though I did a length check on a null object, it is going to still return null. If I do that in Java, it is going to throw me null pointer exception, but in Kotlin, it is not going to throw me null pointer exception. So this is the major feature in Kotlin, where you define a variable as null. The compiler is going to throw you saying, you are assigning it to null, but you're not handling it. So it is going to do all your checks at compile time itself, and it is going to help you in making sure your application doesn't have any null checks or null exceptions, basically null pointer exceptions or the null errors, basically. Okay, so that is another good thing about Kotlin. Okay, the next part, writing functions, right? So if you see here, I didn't tell you how you need to write a function, but let's wrap this into a function, right? So I'm just going to use the feature of IntelliJ to just wrap this into a function. Yes, I'm going to say just print do null check. I'm just going to say no null check. Okay. So if you see here, fun is the function. Okay, you can define it as a private or product or whatever, and then fun is the function, and then you just call a function with a name, and same way you call it in Java. So if I had to do the same thing in Java, I have to just I'll just do the same thing. I'm just extracting those two lines and putting it into a function. If it is in Java, you just say private static void do null check. But in Kotlin, I can just say private func do null check, and inside that I just wrap it around with whatever I want. So if you want to pass an argument here, in Java, you just say something like this, right? You can just say string name. I'm just going to pass some name. Okay, I'm just going to say dummy for no. Okay, I'm just passing some name. Here in Kotlin, you just have to say name and then the string. Okay, so I'm just going to pass name. Okay, so that is how you do it. This is similar to what you get here, but that is how you define a variable. So this is similar to how you define a variable here. If you see the users.kotlin file, right? So we defined a variable with a string static type. So it is the same notation which you have to use it in the function here. So basically you are saying that my name variable is a string and it will be a string only. Okay, so that is what this means. So this is how you write functions as well. Apart from that, it's all same. Now we wrote Java classes, we wrote Kotlin classes in the same project. Can we use them in the different classes? So I'm going to try use the Java class here. So if you see here, users Java is a Java class, and I'm going to create a variable out of it. Okay, so I can do this directly, right? Var users Java equal to users Java. So I don't, if you see here, if you notice here, I don't have to do a new operator on users Java, but this is a Java class, right? And still I can go ahead and use users Java and then assign the variables as name. If you see here, I can assign stuff directly here. Okay, so Kotlin is doing something to remove all these boilerplate, and you can still use those Java functions like how Java has written it, even in Kotlin. So this allows us to use all the libraries which Java already has to be used in Kotlin. So if you are using any existing library like Spring utility or Apache Commons or any utilities or frameworks, you can still use them in Kotlin, but you can remove those boilerplate code and make it clean in Kotlin. If you see here, this is a Java class. I'm using it in Kotlin. This is a Kotlin file. This is a Java class. I'm still using it the way how I write in Kotlin. Okay. Same way I can use a Kotlin class. If you see here, this users, I'm going to say users, new users equal to new users. So this is how we create in Java, right? So still, I didn't create any constructor here. Okay, still I'm able to do a new users. Okay, let's see if I'm able to set using some getters. We didn't create any getters or setters, right? If you see here, I don't have any getters or setters. Still, I can do that here. That is the power of Kotlin. So Kotlin is converting these into bytecodes so that Java can understand. So when this main.java is using the bytecode of users, it is able to identify that, okay, this is also a bytecode which is running in the JVM. So I will have all these things. So Kotlin is doing lots of stuff during compile time to create all those boilerplate code which is required for the JVM to do its operation. So that is why we don't have to write everything here, but still we will be able to use it from a Java class. So that is another good advantage of Java with Kotlin. So you don't have to worry about eliminating Java. So people, I saw somewhere that people are saying Java is dead. So it's not that Java is dead. You can write Kotlin. It's finally going to create everything in the form of Java, and it's going to convert into a bytecode. Just that it is going to make your life simple by making you write less Java code or less code in the way Kotlin can understand. That's it. So people who are saying that okay, Java is dead, okay, that's not the right thing actually. But yeah, so that is Kotlin. So what other things we can try out? We can try out using streams, right? So another thing is Kotlin supports functional programming as well. So if you're not familiar about functional programming, this particular example which I'm going to show you might be like a magic or something. But yeah, Java 8 supports streams, so you can iterate through list or collection using streams API, and you can write functional coding. You basically write functional style of programming. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a stream of integers. So let's do that in Java first, right? I'm also just trying it out for the first time in Kotlin, so I'm not sure if it will work. So if it doesn't work, just don't scold me, okay? In Java, what do? We create a filter. So let's say I want to filter out the value which is divisible by 2, okay? So I'm going to say, I'm going to write a lambda expression saying divisible by 2 equal to 0, okay? So what basically I did is I'm going to stream this particular object. So I'm going to iterate this one by one and read each object and then see if it is divisible by 2. Okay, if it is divisible by 2 and the remainder is 0, that means it is divisible by 2. For example, 4 divided by 2, the remainder will be 0, right? So that's what I'm doing here. If it is divisible, I'm just saying that, okay, print that for me. What I'll do is I'll just say, okay, this I can convert into a method reference, right? So if I run this particular Java program, let me remove the null checks here, right? So that I don't have any null checks anymore. Null pointer exceptions basically. Okay, I'm just running this Java program. Okay, if you see here, it has printed only 2 and 4. Basically, our function worked. Yay, it does work. So what we are doing here is we are just filtering these stream of objects to identify the objects which are divisible by 2. And if you see here, this is how you write streams in Java 8, right? Let's write that in Kotlin. So I have created a stream. So I should be having filter. So it has a filter. Now how do we write this predicate, right? You don't have to do a new, so you can directly do this. You can write lambda expressions this way: 2 equal to 0, right? And then I say for which, and then I say so value. Okay, I don't know how to use method references here, but maybe I think I can do this. Should be this way. Yeah, so we don't have to do the system.out because that is not required in Kotlin. So if you see here, the equivalent code for this is written here, and the equivalent, this is almost the same thing, right? So, but if you are using a complex function or something, then if you wrap these into a function, that might make sense. But yeah, it looks almost similar. So Kotlin can do functional programming. Let's see. I don't know. Let me run this. So it looks like there is no compilation error. That's what I see here in Kotlin. So let's see if it works. If it works, that means Kotlin supports functional programming style as well. So yeah, it works. So this is from Kotlin. So Kotlin supports functional programming style as well. Java by default supports functional programming. So looks like we can do everything whatever we do in Java. Just that you have to write less code in Kotlin compared to what we did in Java. So these are the initial impressions of Kotlin. So I just started checking out Kotlin only today. I just got interested because people are saying it's very simple and easy to use. Looks like it is very simple and easy to use. If you feel otherwise, let me know in the comment section below. So I'll try to help you make understand Kotlin better. If you're new to Java as well, I'll tell you some easier ways to make you understand Kotlin better. So if you are coming from a different background and you want to move to the Java-based, JVM-based framework, let me know. I can help you out in doing some more videos or something which will help you make you understand Kotlin better. But yeah, looks like Kotlin is cool. So let me try out using Kotlin in my day-to-day life. I'll try out wherever I can. And looks like Spring is also supporting Kotlin by creating Spring Boot application, right? So let's see our hand with Kotlin using Spring Boot in our next video. But that's it for this particular video. Meanwhile, let me check if anybody has any comment or something for me so that I can respond to them. Let me give me one moment. I'm just going through my mobile if there is any live chat response. Okay, nothing yet. But yeah, that's what I wanted to cover in this particular video. Hope you got a clean understanding of what is Kotlin and how is it different from Java. So these are the basic things which we need to know before starting Kotlin. So do you think Kotlin is better? And did Android take a wise decision in using Kotlin in developing Android application? Let me know in the comment section below. We can take that forward. Meet you again in the next section, next video. So do like, subscribe, and comment if you have any queries. Meet you again in the next video. Thank you very much.